sanctity for human life, I think that's what comes back to so many, especially the devout followers of Judaism when they come back to it. However, also supporters of something like the death penalty, they often point to the Torah's eye for an eye principle, especially when it comes to something like the horrific attacks that we see here in Israel. So how does Judaism then square that idea with its deep value on mercy and preserving life?
Well, first of all, the eye for an eye was never taken literally. It was always, as far as we have any record, going back to the most ancient of times, eye for an eye was was interpreted, understood to mean that one has to pay reparations, one has to pay compensation for harm done to another person. Under the lex talionis, the rule of eye for an eye was never imposed literally. So that's number one. In fact, it's attributed all the way back to Moses that it was never intended to be taken literally. That's number one. Number two, there is this sense that people should be punished, and if a person's crimes were heinous enough, then that certainly should be invoked. On the other hand, it's indicative or instructive that the only person ever executed by the state of Israel was Adolf Eichmann, who was the author and architect of the final solution of the Shoah. In the present circumstances, first of all, the law, as I wasn't aware of the distinction made between Jews and non-Jews that's in the law as you reported it.
Or Israelis and non-Israelis.
So that distinction would be an anathema to Jewish law. Under no circumstances would you make that kind of distinction. On the contrary, one would hold Jews to be equally, if not more, responsible for heinous crimes as non-Jews. That's number one. Number two, there's a wrinkle here which people don't realize. One can understand certainly the impulse to want to punish the Nukhba terrorists whose crimes are just absolutely indescribable. On the other hand, can such crimes be punished? Really? And on the other hand, will the execution of a terrorist lead to deterrent, will deter them from committing other crimes? Because the truth of the matter is that as opposed to in Western societies, Muslim terrorists, jihadi terrorists want to die. In other words, it's a catch-22 because you're not doing anything that they don't want in the first place. That being the case, so what did you accomplish? Now, one could say one would be taking terrorists from performing future acts of terror. One can do that by keeping them in jail. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to lay out the different issues.
All of the controversy on the table, clearly.
Right. But part of the issue here is this is a clear example of the fact that we are in a head-on collision and a civilizational clash between a set of values that we hold, in which life is at the top of the scale, and the scale that's presented by this specific, very dominant school of Islam, in which death is as desirable a consequence of one's actions as life.
Very, very interesting questions you are definitely bringing up. Professor Jeffrey Woolf, it's great to have you with us. It's a controversial and complicated topic that I'm sure we will continue to discuss here in Israel. Thank you.